My stepdad fell into a deep depression and didn't work. I tried to work as much as I could to fill any time I would use to grieve instead. It wouldn't affect me, until it was bundled with other things later. But for now, I was back to work as a bar back as the guy with a short week, working Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. I had been here before the tragedy with this one guy who had the long week. He and the boss's daughter used to flirt with each other. Funny story about her, she went to sell hot dogs outside the bar, but the tray warmer underneath overflowed with water. She got really pissed and the boss, her father, asked her,
"Well, how are you gonna make any money when you get fired?"
But that bar back was gone, and I was working with a new guy who had the long week. I guess his dad wasn't in the picture and he dropped out of school and got in trouble with the law over drugs. Now he was trying to be man of the house and earn some money to contribute, as well as for himself. We got along really well, but some cracks started to appear. He said he had a family reunion coming up and he wasn't going to let our boss tell him no and miss out on people he hadn't seen in years. He lamented over how little money we made. It was $7 per hour, plus tip outs from our bartenders. For that we were expected to run trash, pick up bus tubs, fill ice as needed, clean the parking lot as needed, bring up beer from the list, change soda lines as needed, change keg lines as needed, wash dishes and then run them back to the kitchen.
I was a bar back, I wore a lot of hats.
However, the cook would want us to also drain the grease traps and clean them as well. I thought it should be his job, but the boss later told me as one cook could
do no wrong.
The reason why was the food was prepared consistent. But that cook had a lot of help, being able to only have to cook the food, more on him later. So after hours of constantly working, the long week bar back complains that he's not making a lot of money. I knew better than he how hard it was to find employment in the surrounding towns, so I tried to tell him about the nice things, like tip outs at the end of the night and free soda. He yelled,
"Fuck a soda."
It ended one day at a biker rally we had. After the festivities died down, one of us was allowed to go home. I reasoned that I should be able to go home, because I had the shifts for the next 2 days. He said,
"Okay, but I get to go home and take a break."
I took him at his word that he would leave at a certain time and come back at a certain time. But he didn't come back and then late started to become really late, which bothered me. So I called the number that the bar had on file and no answer. I waited and called again. After waiting some time, I called again and finally got through and said hello. But when I tried to talk, the person on the other end couldn't receive what I said and the words I heard were choppy, and then the call dropped. I was beyond frustrated that I kept on trying and trying to get through, and when I finally got someone on the other end, they couldn't hear me, and the call dropped. I raised the phone above my head and went to throw it down in frustration as I yelled, "Fucking bitch." But I caught sight of the cook's eyes, which got really big and it snapped me right back into reality. I placed the phone down on the receiver, but then threw a spoon in the dish room. Some time later, I went to get the bus tub and the other bar back came back. He was yelling,
"You call my mom a fucking bitch. You better never show your face here again."
He was yelling I said that about the situation, not any person, and certainly not his mom. The boss ended up telling him to leave. I ran after him and it took a few moments before I caught up with him. I explained the many calls and finally getting through to nobody hearing me and not hearing them and then the dropped call. Then I told him to come back with me and we would smooth everything over, but he told me he was tired of this job anyway. We shook hands and went our separate ways. I only saw him once more, after I stopped working there. His girlfriend was working there as a waitress. I walked up to him and asked him if he got to go that family reunion, since he hadn't seen those relatives in so long like he said. He looked at me and said,
"It hasn't been that long."
I thought we shook hands, but I guess there was still animosity on his part, even though I explained the situation and offered to walk back with him and help keep his job.